If you've ever finished a 12-hour hospital shift with your back aching and your mind running on fumes, you'll understand how Elena Okafor felt the night she thought her sacrifices were about to pay off. She tossed her gloves, checked her phone, and there was just one message from Marcus. Tonight, 7 p.m. Dress nice. It's important. She read it over and over, heart skipping, imagining how far they'd come, how many times she'd covered the rent, put off her own dreams, paid for his exams, all the late nights, and hopes built side by side. She pictured Marcus in a sharp suit, grinning, finally reaping the rewards of everything they'd survived. There on their modest dining table lay a golden invitation, celebrating Marcus Benson. Private, formal attire. Elena chuckled through her exhaustion, told herself. He really went all out this time. She reapplied lip gloss, wrapped herself in the navy gown Marcus loved, always said it made her look regal, and curled her braids into a low bun, thinking tonight would be the night she could finally breathe easy. But when the Uber dropped her off at Horizon Crest Banquet Hall, the kind of place where senators held their daughters' weddings, something icy twisted in her stomach. The foyer shimmered under golden chandeliers, music from a live quartet floating through the air. The crowd glittered in black tie. Everyone seemed at home except her. The waiter confirmed it was Marcus's event and directed her to the Rosewood Ballroom. She brushed past the polished strangers, the ornate gold place cards, the initials S&M at the entrance side, but her brain just wanted to get to Marcus to finally celebrate. Yet when she entered, her steps slowed, a chill crawling up her spine. No podium, no bank logos, no signs of a promotion. Only endless white roses, linen-covered chairs, and a floral arch framing an aisle like a fairy tale altar. Applause rippled through the crowd. The music shifted canon in D. Wedding music. Elena stared as a bride in a white gown descended the staircase on her father's arm, radiant and beaming, waving to the guests. Elena's breath caught. She backed into a chair, vision blurring, unable to process what was happening until the words "Congratulations, Marcus and Sarah" came into focus at the front of the room. A woman next to her leaned in, whispering, "Aren't they lovely? Childhood sweethearts," finally tying the knot. That's when the world tilted. Childhood sweethearts? Elena stood frozen as the pieces rearranged. Marcus had said his family was gone, that he was alone in the world. Now she watched, invisible, as he stood at the altar in the tie she'd bought him last Christmas, smiling at a life she never even knew existed. When Marcus finally saw her, his smile vanished. For a split second, it was just the two of them, shock, guilt, fear, all in his eyes, while hers brimmed with a heartbreak too raw to hide. Sarah, the bride, oblivious, fixed his boutonniere, giggling, as Elena's pain built to a scream she couldn't let out. Her feet were rooted. It wasn't just betrayal, it was betrayal with an audience, the kind that splits you open in public. She turned to leave, but the MC's voice boomed. "Ladies and gentlemen, please rise for Marcus Benson and Sarah Wellington." The music swelled, guests clapped. Marcus clung to Sarah's hand, glancing desperately between Elena and the smiling crowd. He whispered something to the MC, but the show had already started. Elena, trembling, stepped forward. She had to hear the truth, no matter how much it hurt. Sarah smiled kindly, not knowing. "Are you a friend of Marcus?" Elena, barely holding it together, replied, "I think I'm something more than that." Marcus, panicked, tried to shut it down. Elena, "Not here, not now." But she'd had enough. "Don't you dare gaslight me," she said, voice breaking but unyielding. "You're marrying someone else after everything? After you left our apartment this morning like nothing was wrong." Marcus turned to the crowd, desperately spinning a lie. "We were just friends. She needed a place to stay." Elena's hurt became fury. "So now I'm your charity case? You're going to tell everyone I made it all up? That I paid your bills, funded your dreams, stayed up with you for interviews, believed in us, just my imagination?" Gasps rippled through the room. Phones came out. Sarah's smile faded, and her brother Brandon moved protectively closer. "Mr. Wellington," Sarah's father, stood up, cutting through the noise. I think the groom owes us some clarification. Marcus, still trying to hide, sputtered, "This isn't the time or place, sir." But Elena cut in, louder now. "If I hadn't shown up, I'd have gone home thinking we were still a couple." Sarah, pale, turned to Elena. "You had no idea this was his wedding?" Elena just shook her head. The room froze. Sarah's father's voice was heavy. "If what she says is true, we've all been deceived." Marcus stared straight ahead, hoping reality would blink first, but Elena wouldn't let him. "Tell her," she demanded. "Tell her about the nights you said I was your world. The savings I gave you. The dreams we built." He finally mumbled, "I didn't mean for it to go this far. It was complicated." Elena laughed bitterly. "Complicated? Did you use my money to buy her ring? Was that complicated too?" Brandon stepped forward. "You're not marrying my sister today, Mr. Wellington made it official. There will be no wedding here until the truth is dealt with." Marcus tried to argue, but the room emptied out in stunned silence. Elena turned to go. Marcus reached for her, but she didn't even look back. "Don't you dare call my name." Her heels clicked on marble, each step sealing a chapter that should have been hers. Outside, the cold night hit Elena like a slap. She barely made it to a bench before collapsing, sobbing, shoulders shaking, hand over her mouth to muffle the pain. Her phone buzzed, but she refused to check it. She didn't want to see his name. Not tonight. Maybe not ever. In that moment, she realized she'd been a placeholder in someone else's story, not a partner in her own. Esther, her sister, found her, hugged her tight, and took her home. It wasn't a promotion party, Esther. It was his wedding. The next day's blurred Togetherno calls. No text from Marcus. Their joint bank account emptied. Friends silent or gone. At work, she drifted through her shifts like a ghost. Even her patients saw the sadness in her eyes. "You're too kind to carry that much pain," one old lady said. At home, she started to doubt herself. "Did I imagine it all?" Esther was firm. "No, you loved him. You lived with him. Loyalty isn't delusion." Elena tried to write her journal, filled with anger and grief, then survival. Rebecca, a friend, brought pastries and warmth, sat with her, and told her, "You don't owe anyone silence. Especially not him." Little by little, Elena began to reclaim her power. She closed the joint accounts, deleted photos, tossed as things, chose healing over revenge. Therapy helped her set boundaries. She learned not to shrink herself to fit someone else's comfort. She started applying to nursing programs again, finally giving her own dreams a second chance. Then came David. Not a savior, just a kind, grounded presence. He listened, didn't judge, never rushed. He spoke of his own heartbreak, of learning that real love isn't just about fireworks, but about peace, about presence. "Most people give up when love starts to look like sacrifice," he told her. Elena replied, "I learned the hard way." With David, she felt seen not as someone broken, but as someone who survived and was still becoming. Marcus came back one last time, ruined and desperate, begging for shelter. Elena stood her ground. "You don't miss me, Marcus. You miss what I gave you. You didn't lose me, you discarded me." She shut the door, quietly, firmly, and went back to scrubbing her kitchen, knowing some chapters have to end without a dramatic exit. Closure wasn't about answers, but about letting go of needing them. On graduation day, Elena crossed the stage, her parents cheering, tears of pride and relief in her eyes. Sarah showed up to offer a silver bracelet engraved with "Still I Rise." David, standing in the crowd, told her, "Wholeness looks good on you." Elena finally felt it wasn't a victim, not just a survivor. She was whole. When a new invitation arrived, a wedding at the same Horizon Crest banquet hall, Elena, dressed boldly, stood in the same marble foyer, but this time nothing could shake her. She greeted the familiar faces with peace, watched the happy couple, and let herself feel gratitude for surviving what once tried to destroy her. When someone asked, "Aren't you the one from?" she answered simply, "Yes, I was. Today, I'm just someone celebrating love." Months later, Marcus sent a final message. "I lost everything. I just needed you to know." Elena barely blinked. There was no anger, no pain, just a gentle release. She turned to David, sipping ginger tea, and said, "That's not indifference. That's peace." Her past no longer screamed for attention. It sat quietly in the background. On her 31st birthday, Elena stood at her window, gospel music playing, sunflowers bright on the table. David handed her a letter. "You showed me that healing is holy. That love starts with respect. That a woman who walks through fire comes out golden." She smiled at her reflection, whispered, "Becoming me was the bravest thing I ever did." So let me ask you, in a world that praises perfection, is it weakness or strength to speak your pain, to fight for your own dignity after betrayal? Is closure something others owe us, or something we can only find within ourselves? I want to hear your thoughts. Where do you draw the line between forgiveness and letting go, between justice and moving on? Share your story, because you never know who needs to hear it to start writing their own.